Welcome. Yes, you. You are dropping right into a very special custom-tailored deep dive today.
A really special one.
Yeah, and when I say special, I mean we are doing something entirely unique. We are coming to you live.
Literally live.
Right, embedded in a true literary moment playing out today, Saturday, March 14th. We are here celebrating the 53rd birthday of the incredible author Nairidi McQueen-Edwards.
Surrounded by the energy of the very people who made this whole journey possible.
Exactly. It's a phenomenal atmosphere.
It really is. And the themes of community, resilience and support that we'll be analyzing today are just visibly reflected in the room right now.
Which makes this the perfect time to recognize the architecture of that support.
Wow.
So a massive thank you to Pretty Tammy the DJ.
Yes.
Who is officially the newly crowned Miss Senior World 2025.
Love that.
Right. Thank you for hosting this phenomenal event tonight. And to Nairi's family and friends right here in the room, your unwavering presence is literally the bedrock of the narrative we are about to explore. So let's set the vibe for you listening. This isn't, it's not a rigid academic book report.
Definitely not.
Think of this as a grown folks conversation. We're taking an intimate look at a visceral, emotionally layered body of work.
Because it demands that level of intimacy.
It does. Our mission today is to explore the emotional architecture of the Borrowed Brown Skin series and its companion poetry book, What I Could Not Hold.
Right.
We will guide you through the protagonist Raina Lyrical's journey, alongside the author's own parallel evolution, tracking this monumental shift from mere survival to radical earned joy. Okay, let's unpack this.
The most logical starting point is to completely dismantle the myth of the overnight success.
Oh, yeah.
Because when an audience sees 4 thick, complex books drop into the world, the natural assumption is, the author sat at a desk and churned them out over a focused 2 or 3 year period.
Right, like a sudden burst of inspiration.
Exactly. But looking at Nairi's timeline, that narrative just shatters. She has been carrying these stories, cultivating them in one form or another since she was 11 years old.
40 years in the making.
40 years.
The timeline is striking. I mean, she started dancing at the age of 3, learning movement before she fully grasped language, and then began writing in a diary at 11.
Yeah.
And the way she describes that early diary writing is fascinating. It wasn't an attempt to be profound or publishable.
It was a sheer necessity.
Yes. She simply needed a container for her feelings.
And that necessity birthed a lifelong relationship with art as a primary survival mechanism.
Right.
That childhood diary eventually evolved into poetry, and those poems blossomed into these intricate narratives. She utilized poetry as a safe, uncompromised space for her most intense joys and her most visceral pain.
Because it provided a landscape where she didn't have to translate her internal world for anyone else's comfort. And that brings an immense amount of real-world empathy to the text.
Yeah.
Because Nairi has been an educator for over 25 years with a formal background in sociology.
Which is huge.
It is. You don't just read that in the prose. You feel it in the structural understanding of the world she builds. She isn't just writing about individual sadness.
She maps out human behavior.
Right, the failure of societal structures and the way trauma ripples through an entire family system.
Knowing she carried these private survival mechanisms for decades makes the decision to publish at age 53 all the more powerful.
So powerful.
Because it requires immense courage to take the very tools that kept you alive in secret and offer them up to public scrutiny.
Yeah.
There is a recurring theme woven throughout the series that captures this tension perfectly. She says, "We write to remember, we dance to forget."
And the unspoken addendum to that is, we survive by doing both.
What's fascinating here is how directly the author's real-life relationship with poetry and dance maps onto her protagonist, Raina Lyrical.
Oh, absolutely.
Nairi explicitly states in her notes that Raina's notebook is her own notebook. Raina's poems are her poems.
The boundary between the creator and the creation is intentionally porous.
It is.
Which brings us to Raina herself. Raina is a character sculpted by contrasting environments. She was raised primarily by the Khans, right?
Right.
A family that instilled in her a sense of discipline and quiet faith, while she also had to navigate the chaotic, unpredictable reality of visits with her biological mother, Valencia.
Talk about whiplash.
Seriously. Raina learns very early how to shrink, how to become invisible to stay safe in unpredictable environments. But her first true language, her refuge, becomes dance.
Because the body has the capacity to express what the mind is not yet equipped to articulate.
Exactly.
And this introduces the core psychological framework of the first 2 books. somatic healing and somatic memory.
Right, the body keeping the score.
Precisely. In the study of trauma, there is a well-documented phenomenon where the body literally keeps the score. It absorbs and remembers traumatic events, holding on to the physical sensations and the stress responses, even when the brain has completely buried the narrative memory as a protective measure.
And the text illustrates this so vividly through her poetic notes. The physical responses are described not as metaphors, but as physiological facts.
Yes, the physical toll.
The uncontrollable shaking, the sudden sensation of a stomach dropping, the feverish anxiety spiking out of nowhere. That is literally the body speaking.
It's sending alarm signals before the conscious brain can even begin to process the environment.
Right. And Reina's overarching journey is fundamentally about bridging that divide. She has to reconnect the body that remembers with the mind that forgot.
But she doesn't undertake this massive psychological excavation alone. She has anchors.
The vital anchors.
Because Reina is fiercely protecting her young daughter, Haven, her defensive walls are incredibly high. Haven represents Reina's purest instinct to protect. It takes someone like her blood sister, Raven, who shares the same father, Vincent, to actually bypass those defensive walls.
Which is such a beautiful dynamic.
It is. Raven is a dance teacher, which operates beautifully on a symbolic level, too. She literally teaches people how to reclaim the space their bodies occupy. She becomes this unshakable force for both Reina and Haven.
Having that anchor is so vital because the emotional arc requires Reina to confront a severely repressed past. The somatic memories slowly force her to acknowledge childhood abuse committed by a trusted family member.
A very heavy realization.
It is. It explores the insidious nature of a predator operating in plain sight, utilizing the trust of the family structure as a shield.
And the narrative carefully avoids relying on shock value regarding the identity of the abuser.
Yes, very intentionally.
The focus is entirely on the internal devastation and the subsequent navigation of a family system that would often rather protect its own toxic secrets than face a catastrophic truth.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Reina's poetry becomes the actual bridge between the subconscious and the conscious.
Yes.
It acts as the connective tissue between her body's visceral traumatic memories and her mind's conscious pursuit of healing.
She is writing her way back to reality.
She really is. And it culminates in this terrifying, liberating act of defiance. She decides to stop carrying the weight of the family's secrets.
A huge turning point.
She reclaims her narrative publicly by publishing a blog post, putting the truth out into the world entirely on her own terms.
And that reclamation completely shatters her previous reality because the fallout from that kind of public truth-telling requires a fortress.
Right.
Which transitions the narrative into the undeniable power of what the author terms the village in the third book. Speaking your truth is empowering, but healing from systemic familial betrayal cannot happen in isolation.
No, it can't. And the way this network operates is fascinating. It's highly tactical. We are talking about an incredible coalition of women surrounding Reina: Dawn, Danya, Lauren, Lala, and the brilliant twins, Monique and Unique.
Her sociology background really shines here.
It really does. Because Nye Reid doesn't just write a generic group of supportive friends. She writes a functioning micro-society.
They each fulfill specific, vital roles. The representation of sisterhood bypasses the cliché of simply offering a listening ear.
It is entirely actionable.
Very actionable.
When Reina is facing active, terrifying threats, these women do not wait around for an engraved invitation. They don't send a text asking if she needs anything.
No, they just act.
They materialize at Solomon's guest house. Dawn arrives with casseroles to ensure they eat. Danya immediately opens her laptop and starts cross-referencing public databases to track down potential threats.
Spreadsheets and everything.
Yes. Monique and Unique bring their formidable legal expertise to bear. They form an unconditional, literal shield around Reina and Haven.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this village acts as an external immune system.
Oh, I love that phrasing.
Because when a trauma survivor's internal nervous system is completely flooded by triggers, panic, and external threats, they require a community capable of absorbing some of that shock.
Right.
These women regulate the external environment so that Reina can finally allow her internal environment to catch its breath.
That concept of an external immune system is brilliant. But the text also delivers a very grounded reality check about what happens after the immediate threat is neutralized. Healing is not portrayed as a magical finish line.
Not at all. Survival doesn't arrive with a parade.
Exactly.
The text has a profound realization that survival arrives with routine. It is the quiet, unglamorous endurance of simply breathing after the worst possible thing has already happened.
Yeah.
It means waking up, checking your email, packing Haven's lunch, going to work, and dealing with mundane frustrations. True endurance is the actual everyday face of survival.
That pivot from the dramatic, adrenaline-fueled moments of survival to the daily grind of living is masterful. And that endurance is severely tested as the narrative expands in the fourth book. The thematic weight shifts to confront entrenched institutional power dynamics.
It does. Raven steps directly into the fray, launching an investigation into an institutional predator operating within the university system.
Which is terrifying.
It is. This is an individual who manipulates the language of trauma-informed care and advocacy to groom, isolate, and silence vulnerable students.
It is a chilling dynamic to explore. And Raven, armed with her intricate understanding of how bodies hold on to trauma, recognizes the unspoken signs. She encounters Jada, a 19-year-old dance major.
Right.
Raven doesn't just listen to Jada's words. She reads the hollow, traumatized language of Jada's body. She recognizes the physical ghosts of what happened to her own sister, Raina, mirrored in this young student.
And digging into entrenched networks of power carries a monumental cost. While the specific twists of Raven's investigation and the fate of characters like Jonas are complex mysteries best left for the reader to uncover, the sheer emotional fallout pushes Raina to the absolute brink.
The accumulated grief is staggering.
It really is.
And it pushes her directly into the office of her therapist, Dr. Bumbody. The depiction of her therapeutic work with Dr. Bumbody is a masterclass in psychological realism. They aren't just engaging in endless talk therapy. Dr. Bumbody introduces Raina to the concept of distress tolerance.
And distress tolerance is a critical psychological framework. It involves the ability to perceive, experience, and withstand intensely negative emotional states without resorting to mechanisms of escape or numbing.
Which is incredibly hard.
Especially for a survivor like Raina. Her primary life-saving strategy for decades was dissociation, the act of mentally detaching from the physical body to survive. So learning to simply sit in a chair, feel agonizing emotional pain, and tolerate it for 60 seconds at a time is an unimaginable task.
But she does the work. She endures the minute, then the next minute. And throughout this grueling process, her poetry remains the constant anchor. There is a brilliant concept explored in the companion poetry book, What I Could Not Hold, regarding the reusable architecture of poetry.
I find this so fascinating. Language is treated as a malleable material. A line written from a place of absolute devastation doesn't have to belong to devastation forever. You can reshape it.
You really can. The text offers this incredible example, using the line, "Eyes shut tightly, I'm thinking about you gazing into my soul."
Right.
Originally, the architecture of that line was built on a foundation of longing, ache, and perhaps even fear. But Nairi demonstrates how that exact same emotional archetype, the physical sensation of squeezing your eyes shut, can be repurposed.
Completely transformed.
Right. It can be used to describe the grief of avoiding someone's gaze because you aren't ready to see the reality in their eyes. Or, miraculously, it can be repurposed to describe absolute, unadulterated joy. The feeling of shutting your eyes tightly to internalize the overwhelming sensation of being truly chosen and seen.
That is a direct metaphor for the mechanics of healing. You do not erase the past. You repurpose the immense strength you built while surviving it. The vast emotional capacity you had to stretch to hold your grief eventually becomes the exact same capacity you utilize to hold your joy.
So what does this all mean? It means we arrive at the ultimate defining theme of the entire Borrowed Brown Skin series: earned joy.
Earned joy is infinitely more complex than simple circumstantial happiness. As the narrative asserts, joy is not the absence of the things that hurt you. It is the radical, intentional, and fiercely fought-for decision to live fully anyway.
Raina concludes these 4 books not as a fractured individual, but as a vast container for her own expansive life. She transitions from merely trying to survive the next hour to actively claiming her physical space, her artistic voice, and her joy.
Yes.
She makes the definitive choice to never again shrink to accommodate the comfort of others.
She stands and she refuses to fall, even when the gravity of her past makes falling feel inevitable.
To you listening right now, whether you're an educator navigating broken systems, a mother fiercely protecting your child, a survivor holding tightly to your truth, or simply a human being trying to make sense of this messy, beautiful life, there is a piece of Raina's journey and Nairi's journey that will resonate within you.
The emotional resonance of these books is universal because the foundation is built on raw, unfiltered authenticity.
It really is. We've only scratched the surface of the stunning prose, the edge-of-your-seat tension of the investigations, the fierce tactical sisterhood, and the ultimate triumphs contained in these pages. You need to pick up the Borrowed Brown Skin series and the companion poetry book What I Could Not Hold to fully experience the emotional architecture for yourself.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've spent a lot of time today discussing how trauma is held in the body and how the architecture of poetry can be repurposed from pain to joy.
Right.
But it raises a fascinating question about the future. If we know that trauma can be passed down intergenerationally, can earned joy be inherited the same way?
Oh, that's powerful.
Right. Can the fierce emotional architecture Raina built to save her own life become the baseline inheritance for her daughter, Haven, ensuring the next generation starts from a place of joy rather than survival?
What a profound question to carry forward. Thank you for joining us for this extensive deep dive into such a powerful body of work. And one final, resounding happy 53rd birthday to Nairi D. McQueen Edwards. Keep writing, keep dancing, and keep building that emotional architecture. Have a wonderful night, everyone.